All right. You want me to go first?
You go. Yeah, you go first.
Okay. Hello, GP and Norlander. That's the way it began. My name's Caitlin Callaghan. I live in Madison, Wisconsin. I've been a diehard college hoops fan for about 7 years. My love of the sport initially was focused on just the Badgers, but then I came interested in the Big Ten, and now I follow the entire sport year round. My favorite thing about college hoops is the difference in style of play amongst teams. Recently, I've been reflecting on how a team's trademark style of play can be attributed to their coach and often their coach's past coaching experience, whether this experience comes from family or from being an assistant coach. For example, as a Wisconsin fan, I know a thing or two about low possession games. Greg Gard implements a version of the swing offense, which Bo Ryan implemented before him and Dick Bennett before Bo. And then, interestingly enough, Dick Bennett's son, the respectable Tony Bennett, has the Wahoos running a very similar style. Thinking about this chain reaction in coaching styles, coaches' son styles, and assistant coaches' styles is what led me to my question, which is this. What head coaches in college basketball history do you think had the most significant chain reaction impact on style of play?
This is, first of all, shouts to all of our female listeners. We got a number of suggestions and emails. So appreciate that. We want you well represented here on the show. In the reviews, be sure to review, follow us, all that good stuff here. This is a really good question. And it's not so much as a tough one as GP. There's a lot of candidates and nominees.
The first one that popped into my head was
Yes.
Nolan Richardson, Mike Anderson, 40 minutes apill.
Ooh, that was the first one.
Like Nolan implemented that style, and Mike was his longtime assistant. They won a national title together, and then Mike was very successful with that style at UAB, at Missouri, at Arkansas, and now, you know, Golden Gate Mike at St. John's.
Golden Gate Mike, of course. The first one that popped into my head was Bob Knight, because he had the motion offense, which was replicated at every level of the sport. And though not nearly as popular now as it was in the 70s, 80s, and into 90s, I think you could make the case that the motion offense was the single most transformative basketball philosophy that was adopted at every level ever introduced in the sport. So I would say Bob Knight, and that from there you've got Coach K didn't run the motion forever, but obviously Coach K is a disciple. Chris Beard would fall under Bob Knight's tree. Steve Alford, Murray Bartow, Mike Woodson is now coaching there. So the tree isn't expansive with a bunch of like huge big name coaches, but the philosophy itself was one of my interpretations. Another name that I actually thought about was Dean Smith. Now it's not, to Caitlin's question, it's not so much Dean Smith disciples so much as Dean Smith was embracing tempo-free stats and really analytics before that term was even recognized in basketball for decades. So Dean Smith is obviously known for a lot of what he did in terms of racial integration and a lot of social impact, rightfully so, all the winning clearly and getting Carolina to such a lofty level. But those in basketball will tell you that Dean Smith was thinking about things from a strategy standpoint that, frankly, most college basketball coaches weren't even touching or thinking about for years and years and years after he did. Two more from me. Pete Carrill with the Princeton offense. That was used at the NBA level as it was at college and below. And JT3 at Georgetown was probably the most successful protege, if you will. Chris Mooney still runs it. Joe Scott ran it at Air Force. People still use it. And then Jim Boeheim with the zone defense, just in terms of everyone that has been under Jim Boeheim's watch and then gone on to get another job. They have run the zone defense. You know, he has a patent on that as much as Bob Knight had the patent on the motion offense, as far as I'm concerned. 2-3 zone defense is not prominent in college basketball these days. There are some teams that run it exclusively, but the number is low. And more than anything, it's almost a trick to pull out of the bag with some coaches. But you know, when we talk about coaching styles that had influence or certainly became affiliated with coaches, the four that came to mind for me were Knight, Smith, which he's kind of outside the realm of the question, but I thought he was worth including, Carrill, and then Boeheim. What about you?
Yeah, like Nolan and Richardson was a good one, I think, with what Mike Anderson took from him or borrowed from him, or however you want to phrase that. And, you know, used it successfully, you know, to carve out a pretty long and respectable head coaching career. I don't know that his disciples, so to speak, like replicated the style of play, but Rick Pitino was one of the first college coaches to really embrace the 3-point shot and understand just the math on it.
Great call. That's a
Yeah.
great call. Yes.
And so I don't know that all of everybody who coached for Rick, copied his style, but certainly he had an impact on the sport that a lot of people have tried to replicate, whether they ever worked for Rick Pitino or not. So he's a great one.
All right, my question here. I'm interested on your thoughts on this one. So this comes from Matt from Philly here. Love the pod, and the Summer Shoot Around series has been awesome. Question: you often reference when talking about a new coach at a school or just in general that the coaching job is, quote, a top X gig in America, end quote. What would you say are the top 10 to 15 coaching gigs in the country? Thanks, gents. Best, Matt. The official Justin Moore return from injury tracker. Hey, Matt, come find us when you have more progress on the Justin Moore stuff. I have them in order, GP. I thought about this last night, and I have them. Ready for it?
Okay, I've got 15 too. I typed here. Let's see how many we match on.
Yeah, let's see how many we match on. Now, I am taking into account, obviously, the history of the school, the conference it's located in, the actual location of the school and place, cost of living, everyday living, where you live in the country, the resources at the school, the commitment for the school. Where does basketball fall? Are you the top priority? Are you the second priority? Or are you the third priority? Budget potential, all of it. I'm trying to take all of it into account here. This is my personal list. For me, these are 1 through 15. 1, Carolina. 2, Kansas. 3, Kentucky. 4, Duke. Then I draw a line. Summer shoot-around listeners will remember, and Matt will as well because he listened to the Villanova episode, that I made the case Villanova has a sneaky case to be the 5th best job in the country. I actually put Villanova at 6. If you want to hear my reasons why, go back and listen to the Villanova episode. I have Arizona 5, Villanova 6, UCLA 7, Indiana 8, Louisville 9. Draw another line. So that's my second tier. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So far, I have every one of those.
But not in the same order, right? Maybe a little bit of a jumble?
Maybe, but I mean, I didn't list them in any order. I just banged out 15, but I have all 9 of those.
And here's 10 through 15. And Texas at 10.
Michigan
State at 11.
I've got that.
I've got Gonzaga at 12.
I've got that.
I've got Michigan at 13.
I've got Michigan.
Wow, we are 13 for 13. Next 2, I feel like we're going to split on one of these, but I don't know. I've got UConn at 14.
I do not have UConn.
You don't have UConn. Maybe I live in, I'm no UConn alum, no UConn fan, so to speak, but I do live in the state. So maybe there's some influence there, but I'll make the case in a second. And then 15, and this would not have been my answer. I don't even know if it would have been my answer as recently as a year ago. But given what the school has been able to do, the outrageous fan support, one of the best home arenas in the country, the history, you just mentioned a former coach there. I've got Arkansas 15.
I've got Arkansas as well.
So who do you let me try and guess. Let me see if I can guess in 3 guesses. Who do you have that I don't have? Damn, GP. We got 14 out of 15 of the same. Who do you have? Let me just bring up Ken Palm here. Let me look at last year's standings. Who do you have that I would not have? Because I'm thinking about the schools that I considered. Like, it's not top 15, but Marquette's a sneaky good job. You know what? My first guess of this, my first guess is Ohio State.
That's right.
Okay. The only reason why I did not put Ohio State in the group is that the arena is too big. The fan support is just okay. And I was debating between UConn, Arkansas, Ohio State, Florida, Marquette. And to me, while there are pros to this, Ohio State and Florida are not basketball first. Arkansas, while it's doing fine in football, right, it is a basketball university, and they fervently support that university. UConn as well. Women's team is amazing as well. There's no pro team in Connecticut. So living here, like, you can tell just how important it is. Now it's back in the Big East. It's got 4 national championships there. So I went with UConn, but I understand your case for Ohio.
Some other ones I had as possibilities: Maryland, Oregon.
Maryland's up there. Maryland, I think, is top 20. I considered it, but I didn't put it. I wasn't close on it.
At Oregon.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, it's Oregon, so probably for similar reasons why it'd be high in football. Yeah.
All the money in the world, Nike connection. I think you could make a case that's a great job, even if it might not be perceived that way. But our lists are roughly the same. And like I think anybody I have in the top 15 that you don't, you would also have in the top 20. So we're not too far off there.